Welcome to the Squeaky Wheel Farm. Hi, I'm Christine. If you're new to raising cattle or thinking of adding them to your homestead, just know that it's very easy to make some really costly mistakes. And you guessed it, we've made quite a few. Today, I'd like to share with you the top 5 mistakes that we've made when we were starting out and what we've learned along the way. This could save you a lot of time, money, and a whole lot of heartache. Stick around to the end because I've got a bonus mistake, one that we're embarrassed to admit, but that could save you a lot of money. Our first mistake was choosing the wrong breed. Now, not every breed fits every farm. Some breeds are high-strung, while others aren't suitable for your market. In our market, I can get an extra 5 cents a pound just for the cattle being black. And if you're wondering why, it's because of marketing. Years ago, the Angus Association spent a lot of money promoting their breed. And there are a lot of restaurants that market Angus as being premium beef. Now, in my opinion, a lot of their buyers wouldn't know an Angus cow if it bit them in the butt. But they do recognize the black hide on the animal and just assume that it's Angus. Now, there's a lot of factors that go into making premium beef, and the color of their hide has nothing to do with it. Now, while it doesn't make sense to most of us, if it gives me an extra 5 cents a pound, I'll take it because it doesn't cost me anything extra. And 5 cents a pound on a 1,000-pound animal is an extra $50 for no extra effort and no extra cost on my part. And I do want to say that for the most part, we avoid getting any Angus genetics into our herd because they tend to be high-strung, anxious animals. Now, years ago, we did rent a bull that was part Angus, and we've been paying for it ever since. Every now and then, we will get a cow or a calf that's born on this farm that is more high-strung or nervous than the rest of them, as demonstrated in my last video. And I believe that's because that's the Angus genetics coming through from that bull that we had one time several years ago. You'll want to choose cattle that match your goals. Now, when we first started, we were raising male Holstein calves, and that was because they were accessible. We had a local dairy farmer that sold all his male calves. We knew where they were coming from. They were healthy animals, and it was a good match for us. And the beef was really good because of the way we fed them. But we didn't get paid as much per animal. And even though it cost us the same amount of money and the same amount of time and the same amount of effort to feed out a dairy animal, we just never made as much money as we would have if we'd been feeding beef steers. Dairy breeds are bred to make milk and not muscle. So just naturally, there is going to be a whole lot more bone involved in a dairy animal than a beef animal. And therein justifies the difference in the price. The quality might be the same, but the quantity is going to be different. So you'll never make as much money. So when your goal is to make a profit, you want to make sure that you're raising the right kind of animal. You can't raise a dairy animal and expect it to have qualities of a beef animal. You're just not going to get there. Even though the inputs are the same feed costs, the same amount of time, you're just better off raising a beef animal. And the other thing that we worry about is the horns. On our farm, we raise polled cattle, which are cattle that are naturally born without horns. We save time and money by not having to dehorn the calves after they're born. Not only is it painful for them, but it can invite infection and flies and a whole bunch of other problems. When calves are sore or sick or just don't feel well, they're not going to eat. And they don't grow if they don't eat, so it just sets them back. And also, animals with horns are more dangerous, and their horns can get caught in the fence, tearing up a lot of your fences and gates and infrastructure. And that's just another reason why we've chosen to try very hard to make sure that we only have polled animals on our farm. It just makes handling them safer and easier, and it's less work for us. So I just wanted to say, choose your breed wisely. Now, mistake number 2 is having a poor feeding program. Cattle in poor condition don't breed back well, and you want your calves to be born when you plan for them. Open cows, which means that they didn't get bred, and miscarriages, those cost you money. Calves might be born sickly or weaker, and they're also much slower to grow. So provide the very best feed that you can afford and make sure that it's in adequate amounts. Good pasture in the summer and quality feed throughout the winter are essential in a good feeding program, and it's never more important than in the wintertime. When the temperatures get really cold, our cattle really need those extra calories. So we do provide them with a little bit of grain. But it's not a lot because we want to be careful that our cattle don't have huge calves and have trouble delivering in the spring. But also don't overlook the minerals because they are vital in making sure that your cattle are getting the proper nutrients. And that's what keeps your herd healthy. So as far as minerals go, yes, they are expensive, but they're worth every penny. Because if your cattle are short on minerals, they're more likely to get sick and lose condition. Now you may not notice it, but it's one of those quiet killers to your bottom line. And it definitely will affect your profitability. And also your hay or your pasture might be missing some vital nutrients like selenium, copper, or magnesium. And you can't always tell by looking. A solid mineral program fills those gaps and keeps your animals thriving. Healthy cows make healthy calves, and that's the foundation of a good herd. Now, mistake number 3 is not having the right environment. You don't need fancy facilities, but you do need them to be functional. You'll need good fences, clean water, and somewhere dry to store your feed. So put some thought into making your farm efficient so that you can make your daily chores easier. And we were once using galvanized water tanks, and most of our fencing is electric wire fence. And one day, years ago, the cattle had pushed an empty water tank up against the fence, and when we filled it, well, they wouldn't drink from it. It took us a couple days to figure out that every time they drank from that metal tank, they were getting shocked. And it was a simple mistake, but it reminded us that even the small details can make a big difference in keeping cattle healthy and comfortable. And we have several paddocks to move our cattle around. And one of them has trees and is a lot of shade. And it's lower ground. The cattle tend to go there on hot, sunny days. But they also go there when the weather is really bad, when it's windy and rainy. It just gives them some protection from the weather. Trees not only provide shade, but they offer a windbreak. We do rotational grazing in the summertime, and that helps our pastures. It improves by moving the manure around, and it allows our pastures to recover. And by moving the cattle, we're getting them away from that manure, so they're away from the flies. And they're just healthier all around. It also helps to break the worm cycle. Okay, so I had to move inside the greenhouse because it is wicked windy outside and it's just miserable. So I just decided that this would be easier to try. We'll see how this goes. But I want to talk to you about breeding, and poor breeding management is problem number 4. Mistake number 4. Now, the time of year that you choose to breed your cows is just as important as what bull you choose to breed them to. And if you don't plan your calving season appropriately, well, that mistake's on you, because it really doesn't cost you anything to try to plan your calving season so that you have the calves at the right time of the year. Now, we've lost calves before that were born February and March because the weather tends to be really cold and wet that time of year, and it just seems like they always got pneumonia. And then once we brought them inside into the barn, then we were trying to manage their illnesses and trying to give them medicines, and they're just not doing well. They're sickly, and well, they didn't always get well once they got sick. So it is heartbreaking. It's just something that you really need to try to avoid. If you can plan well, you have a better chance of not having problems with your calves, with them not being sick. And it's truly just a matter of timing. It doesn't cost you a thing, but it makes a huge difference. So we aim for having our calves in late spring. Early May would be perfect, but it doesn't always work out that way. That's when the weather's warmer, the grass is growing, and both the calves and the cows, we've noticed, have done so much better. Now, as I've said before, cows can tolerate being cold, or they can tolerate being wet, but being cold and wet at the same time is just a really bad combination, and you tend to have a lot more illnesses when you've got those kind of conditions. Now, while I'm talking about timing, our bulls only run with the herd at certain times of the year. We don't currently have a bull, but if we did, we would be pulling either him out or pulling the heifers out the yearlings, because we don't want our heifers, our first-time moms, to get bred at the wrong time of the year. And there's really no way that we can know when they're coming into season pretty much until after it's too late. So we don't want them bred at the wrong time. We absolutely do not want them to have a calf before they're 2 years old. It seems like they always have a harder time delivering, and they just don't seem to be mature enough to be good moms. They also have a higher risk of injury during delivery and a greater chance of the calves being born early. And early calves, that's not a good thing either. They're more likely to be sickly and have respiratory issues. And these are all things that can be avoided simply by controlling when they're exposed to the bull. Now for us, mistake number 5 was poor pest management. And you really don't want to ignore pests and parasite control. Flies and worms, they can quietly rob your cattle of condition and spread diseases like pink eye. And we've had pink eye in our herd before. It can move through the herd so fast you won't believe it. And it's miserable for the animal, it's miserable for the owner because you're out there daily trying to treat it. It's also highly contagious, and it can cause blindness in your cattle, permanent damage that you can't fix once the damage is done. So make sure that you're using fly control products when needed. So fly tags, mineral with fly control, which is an oral type thing. The fly rubs, we use those a lot in the summertime. Those also help with controlling the flies. It's also important to have a deworming program. Periodically switching up products or types of dewormers you use to avoid parasites that can build resistance to your dewormer. So there's my top 5 mistakes, things that we've done on our farm that we really truly regret. And for most of them, it wasn't a matter of not having the money, because most of those things didn't require any cost inputs, didn't require any additional money. It was just a matter of timing or knowledge that caused us to make those mistakes. And I did promise you a bonus mistake, one that I learned the hard way, and that is, don't bring sick animals onto your farm. When you're starting out, it is so tempting to bring those bottle calves from the sale barn home because they're cute and they're cheap, but most of the time, it is not worth it. I've wasted more time and money and effort trying to save sick calves that were already too weak or too sick to be brought to my home. Sale barns can be rough. Animals there have been exposed to stress, transport, diseases from all over the place. You truly don't know what you're getting when you're buying an animal from the sale barn. So if you can, buy directly from a local farmer, someone you trust, where you can see the condition of the herd and you can see how the animals are raised. You'll start out so far ahead by not bringing sickness onto your farm. Now, even now, any animals that we buy, we quarantine them for at least 2 weeks. And I even did this with our recent chicken purchase. We had bought some pullets, and when I brought them onto the farm, I made sure that I did not put them with the rest of our chickens until I knew that they were healthy and that they were not bringing in any kind of diseases. And I learned this from an old farmer, a dairy farmer who, that was his livelihood, was his herd of animals. Our kids were together in 4-H, and he never allowed his 4-H animals to come back to the farm after the fair. So I'd asked him about that, and he had explained to me that those animals could be bringing diseases. They've been around other animals, and you just don't know what they're going to be bringing back to your farm. So very wise words, just something that I took to heart after we experienced loss and a lot of heartache after bringing sick animals home. So I've learned over the years that sometimes the best money that you spend is the money that you don't spend, and that's by avoiding all these mistakes that we just discussed. So those are the biggest mistakes that we've made over the years. and the lessons that we've learned. And it's helped us to build a healthier, more manageable herd. If you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more real-life cattle and homestead videos. And if you've made a few mistakes yourself, let us know in the comments, because we all learn from each other. I really appreciate you all. Thanks for watching. Oh, and one more thing. I hope to see you again soon.